This void, which arises from ignoring our natures, manifests in confusion and alienation and misery and spiritual poverty that characterize much of our post-Christian culture. Addictions, suicides, especially among the young, shattered families, all of it is because we turned our backs on natural law. Our mission here is not to merely critique this drift from foundational truths, but to kind of shine a light on the path back to them. The giant transformation we see happening right now in America, that we see especially in politics, is actually a great resetting, a counter-revolution, so to speak, against the negative consequences that have arisen from the rejection of natural law in the post-Christian culture. Remember, politics is always downstream of culture. It's the fatal flaw in the commie Democrats' constant drum pounding. They keep hammering on about Trump is this and Elon that, while missing the hard truth that, no, it isn't Trump and Elon. Trump 2.0 is merely doing the will of the people, who are the ones suffering from the negative consequences of the communist rejection of natural law. Virtually no American will express all of this in these kinds of terms or vocabulary, but that is exactly what is going on. Natural law says you don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you don't abuse, and so forth. While those things are illegal, they break the law, the man-made laws come after the natural law, the law written on our hearts and our natures by Almighty God. Natural law comes first, and then only after that do man-made laws follow. The communists in the swamp have built an empire of lies and instituted laws and practices and policies that violate the natural law, DEI practices, for example. Normal people recoil from that owing to natural law. They recoil from the idea of somebody being hired or promoted just because of their sex or their skin color or whatever. It's unfair. It's unjust. There's that question of justice again. It's unjust to the person victimized by such practices, the man not hired or not promoted, even though he was the most deserving. Trump and his administration aren't causing all of this to happen. They're merely beginning to reestablish the proper order that again flows from natural law, an order that citizens want put back in place. For example, you don't rob people's futures from them and instill in them a sense of hopelessness. You don't crush people economically because of policies that trample the dignity of them. Here at Souls and Liberty, we recognize that the abandonment of natural law, those self-evident principles woven into the fabric of human existence by God himself, who made us in his divine image and likeness, all of that's left this big void in modern society. This void, which arises from ignoring our natures, manifests in confusion and alienation and misery and spiritual poverty that characterize much of our post-Christian culture. Addictions, suicides, especially among the young, shattered families, all of it is because we turned our backs on natural law. Our mission here is not to merely critique this drift from foundational truths, but to kind of shine a light on the path back to them. We understand that natural law isn't just an ancient philosophical concept. It's the framework that has undergirded human flourishing since the Garden of Eden. It's how we're made. Our human natures respond to natural law. That's the hookup here. Souls and Liberty exists to reconnect people with the profound wisdom embedded in the natural law, wisdom that flows ultimately, of course, from the triune God. We believe that truth isn't relative, that human nature is constant, and that there are objective standards of right and wrong that transcend time and culture. So through our work here, we aim to demonstrate how these eternal principles provide the only sustainable foundation for genuine human freedom and fulfillment. It's all they've done throughout all of history. We believe that the answers to today's moral and social crises aren't found in constantly shifting cultural trends like the sand in this hourglass here, but in the unchanging truths that have guided humanity throughout history. In a culture that often mistakes license for liberty, we stand for authentic freedom, the freedom that comes from living in harmony with the natural order. That children, for example, deserve a father and a mother, that parents are the primary educators of their children. Those are just two examples. And these aren't the case because Congress or some state lawmakers say so. They're the case because natural law says so. If Congress passes a law or embraces some governing philosophy against natural law principles, well, then human beings suffer, period. Our work here isn't just about preserving traditional wisdom. It's about helping people rediscover the profound liberation that comes from embracing truth. Here at Souls and Liberty, we are about anchoring liberty in eternal truth, the truth of natural law. Coming to you from Houston, Texas, yeehaw! I'm Gary Michael Voris. God love you.